is a battleship, a German battleship, one of Hitler's best. She cost the Nazis over 4 years building time, several million man-hours of slave labor, and millions of marks. Her firepower might easily spell success for a major task force. Yet this great capital ship can be crippled, even sunk, by a single coordinated torpedo attack. Jawohl, Herr Admiral, strut while you can. But you know what we're saying is true. Think back a little to the early days of the war. Remember how those British Swordfish torpedo planes attacked your Bismarck? You were mighty proud of the Bismarck, called her unsinkable. But those slow Swordfish launched torpedoes which crippled her, so that British cruisers could catch up and pound her to destruction. And she was finally sunk by another torpedo. This is a B-26, Herr Admiral. We call it the Marauder, or had you heard? Und ja, that's a torpedo being loaded. Then there's the B-25 Mitchell. Both bombers carry torpedoes and carry them at very high speeds. So you see what we've got in store for you. But this is where you get off, Admiral. Against all your gold braid, we're betting a single gold bar. Second Lieutenant Douglas Walsh, fresh out of flying school, is just beginning to bone up on the subject of torpedoes. His instructor's pointing out that while Doug doesn't service the torpedo, it'll help him to know what it is and how it's carried. Now, a torpedo must make a good, clean entry into the water. This is helped by the plywood air stabilizer, which holds the torpedo tangent to its flight path. This is the starting lanyard. When the fish drops away, this cord jerks the starting lever, and things happen inside. The stop bolt on the fuselage, which fits into a hole in the midship section, and the sway bracing hold the torpedo steady against the airplane. The two steel cables fasten to regular bomb shackles in the bomb bay. The cables are released from opposite sides, so the torpedo won't roll. The torpedo is mounted so that it's level, not on the ground, but at your average dropping speed, because its proper entry into the water depends on its being level when released. Now, at the same time the starting lanyard is pulled, the arming wire, well, there isn't any on this exercise head. There's a warhead on that job over there. Let's have a look, because after you've made your practice runs, you'll be toting the TNT. This arming wire keeps the impeller wheel from turning and arming the torpedo in the air, but the wire pulls out as the torpedo drops. And when it hits the water, the spinning impeller arms the torpedo after a 400-yard water run. Now, Doug, before you go and take off with the torpedo, there are 3 important things you want to know about it in advance. 1, what's the model of your torpedo? This will tell you its speed and its load of TNT if it has a warhead. This is a Mod 1, and it's got an exercise head. 2, how's your antifreeze? Both exercise head and water compartment must be protected if you're going to hit freezing temperatures. 3, what's the depth setting? This will tell you whether it's good for the target you catch, so you don't send a fish swimming harmlessly under your prey. This one's set for 10 feet. Okay, that's all out here. The rest of the job is done in the cockpit. First thing inside is to conduct your own pre-flight inspection. In many B-26s, your release handle, which the boys call the pickle, is carried in a pocket behind the pilot's seat. When you want to use it, you plug it into the panel here. Slip it on like this, and the release button is right under your trigger finger. In other B-26s and in B-25s, you'll find the release button on the wheel. For safety's sake, it's a good idea not to plug in the cable till you're ready to make your run. The torpedo control must be pulled out to the notch to put your bomb racks in selective and make your release button hot. And now you want to be sure and check your director. Rotate the speed knob and move the arms, just to be sure they work easily and won't give you any trouble when you're ready to set in your problem. Finally, after turning on the battery switches and the master switch, spin up the director light rheostat to make sure that it and the bulb work. And check the reticle. If the image is clean, bright, and sharp, we're ready to go. And you can turn off the director till we need it. Well, Doug, you're off on your first torpedo run, and there's probably a lot on your mind. It'll help you to think of it all as two big questions. One, how do I fly while I release the fish? And two, how do I know where to release it? As for the first question, how to fly during release, your object is to drop the torpedo so it makes a good, clean entry into the water. Say, Doug, ever seen a diving exhibition? Then you get what we mean by a good, clean entry. But a bad entry can hurt a torpedo, can damage it, or distort its run. Don't let your torpedo perform like this. The most important thing in flying is your speed. You've got to balance a high speed, which increases your protection from fighters and flak, against a slower speed, which improves the accuracy of the torpedo. Also, you must slow down during release, or you'll damage the intricate mechanism of the torpedo. We draw the line at 200 miles an hour, and anybody who flies over it takes his own chances. 200 miles an hour with a limit of 240 for warheads with solid TNT. But exercise heads are filled with water, not so solid, and then you must hold down to 175 with a limit of 200. So, Doug, it boils down to this. You've got a fast airplane and a slow torpedo. Now, speaking of speed, the faster you fly, the more important your attitude is. Remember, the torpedo is mounted so it'll be about level at your average dropping speed. And another thing, you must not skid, slip, or turn. If you fly your torpedo smooth and level at the point of release, the steering gyro will hold the proper course. So if you were to skid, slip, or turn during release, the gyro would stabilize in the wrong position, sending the torpedo on a course you didn't intend. All right, Doug, that takes care of your first big question, how to fly during release.